Hey guys, what's up and welcome to the channel. I'm the Shotgun Shogun, and this is a live damage by the numbers because I figured why not kill two birds with one stone. I'll stream, and this way we can get all of the big brain strats from the chat as I don't pay attention to them at all, and we just go through and theory craft, and I ramble for probably 45 minutes while looking at the math damage calculator. Hey Zariah, so we're going to be looking at Ervalen today, the most punchable face in the entire game. As always, the math damage calculator, that's not even the math damage calculator, the math damage calculator, which you can get to either by going to the link in the description to the math.github or Epic7 PvP.com, either one, however you want to get there. We're going to be looking at Ervalen. We're going to be looking at him. So there's been a lot of theory crafting on how you're going to use him, right? He doesn't really have anything in his kit that is turn one survivability. You have to get a turn, so that's one of the big problems. So there's the potential of making him a speed bruiser. The problem there being that you kind of need to be different in max HP, or else you're not going to be able to do as much damage as possible. I'm thinking a open with portrait probably going to be one of your best bets. Now, he is a Scorpio Thief green. You can use your Biken in order to check that out. You can use a Selena says, Specimen says, Violet. Any of these are going to be working if you want to put together a theoretical build for your Ervalen. Now we're going to be taking a look, like I said, we're going to be looking at maybe a portrait of saviors, something along the lines of like kind of quick-ish to open, but without a ton of hit points. I do think that he is a bit of a tank breaker, and I'm looking forward to seeing these modifiers. Now, his S1 is a 1-to-1 modifier. His S3 is a 1.6 to 1 to 9% per thousand difference here. So that's actually going to be kind of interesting to see what we get there. His S2 is a 1.4 to 1 modifier. These are actually not too bad overall. A little on the pretty good side. One of the things that you have to take into consideration when you watch the video on him is that some people are like, oh, well, he only did 22k into a defense broken Ruel with attack buff. Well, you also had an Arius on the field, and you don't know what he was rocking, right? So we are going to be taking a look at what we can do with a portrait of saviors. So I'm going to swap back over here to my screen. We're going to pull up our Biken and throw some gear on here. Well, theoretically throw some gear onto here and see just what kind of stats we can get pretty easily. I say that as you guys are going to be like, but your gear is insane, so why? That's not really that easy. But let's see what kind of benchmark stats we can get here. You see I put immunity right there as I just slap my microphone, but that's because, well, I feel like you're going to probably need it. So you are going to want to, because of the damage modification of the difference in health, you are going to want to stack up more critical hit damage than you are going to want to stack up attack, just because of the way that those things also, thank you. See, this is why we did it. This is why we did it in real time. But he also has self imprint as well, but I will release self imprint because no one's gonna triple S this guy except for like the most whale of whale lords. But regardless, that said, let's get into moving this gear around, because I do think that he has potential. You are going to want to obviously have immunity if you can get immunity. Otherwise, you can also go with crit and go there. I did switch that out, right? Do I have, oh, I have just a crit chance necklace. She's just holding gear right now. Don't bash my build in the comment section, thanks. So you are going to want, like I said, you are going to want to have a good mix of gear. Also, you're going to want to make sure that he is kind of quick. So we can go with this one, has a decent spread of gear. I won't obviously put my pentaroll super crazy stuff or my main character gear. I mean, I could. We'll probably do that when we go with the best possible theoretical build, but let's just put what we can on him right now. This is actually really good for him because this gives him a bunch of overall stats. Now, I've seen some people talk about how if you make him semi-bruiser-ish, you will defeat the purpose of his whole kit. I don't think that that's necessarily correct, just because I think that he is there to break tanks, and as long as you have like a good difference in between there, you'll still be doing quite a bit of damage. You won't be getting obviously the most super maxed out crazy amount of damage possible, but I do think that you will still be able to maintain overall good stats. Now the problem becomes that you do want to make sure that he lives. So you are going to want some sort of defensive stats on him, like almost every other DPSer, unless you are just going to be pushing it with some sort of oxlots or something along those lines. So we're going to put crit damage here. We're going to put defensive here. This way we get a good bit of defense, but we're not over capping on the HP, right? We're not going with an HP main stat, just because we do want to maintain that semi-lowish HP and then go more for the defensive side of things. So down here, let's find ourselves some defense with some offensive stats. Probably not that Amomo one. Do I have critical hit chance? Get off here, hit. Do I have critical hit chance? Actually, we'll put these on. So this isn't too bad, 222 speed, but it's 0% critical hit chance. So we're going to ignore that. Let's just say that you self imprint with triple S, and then that puts you at the top, because we're just going to do that for stats. So let's pop back over to the damage calculator. Let's put this in. We're actually 2498 here. We're going to do 282 on the critical hit damage. Let's say we have elemental advantage. We're going into, I don't know, man, something green. Let's say we're going into a crow. We're going to give ourselves increased attack because, well, we should have increased attack, especially if we're 222. Chances are you should probably have somebody in front of you that's going to give you increased attack. A blue rose, a DN, something along those lines. We're going to go into a tank because, well, he's a tank breaker. So man, I don't know what blue crows run in terms of defense, but let's just say that this blue crow has 1600 defense and is rocking an adamant shield because, well, of course he is. 100%. So targets max health. I don't know, chat. What's blue crows run? 22,000 HP. Yeah, we'll say 22,000 HP. And we have 1275. 22 to 25k. Okay, thank you, chat. Okay, so right out the gate, as you can see here, if we're let's say he's on the higher side of it. Let's say he's at the 25k hit point mark. Now you're going to be doing about 11,000 damage on your S3, which, I mean, is no slouch. You also get a 4,500 damage shield and you get the counter attack here. I think a lot of people are going to be expecting to one-shot this, but let's say you follow up from a Falconeer Flurry. You got defense break. You kill that crow. You just insta-gib this Crow. He's just dead with these stats. Not that your Falconeer Quarry is going to be able to defense break the Crow because the 15%, but if you are able to get a defense break in on a tank, a 25k tank, it's dead. It's literally insta dead at this stat. You do have immunity here. You do have a good amount of defense and a good amount of hit points. If you're going into a heavy tank team, a heavy stall team, chances are you're probably not worried about your character, your Ervalen, getting one shot first turn, right? So this is also Portrait of Saviors. Not bad, actually. I think that is pretty decent. Now let's see, if you were to bring this down to, let's say, 10,000, it doesn't matter because the spread is good enough. So if you're going in against tanks, like where does the spread stop? 15. I probably can math here at some point, but do I have to click in here? Okay, so you can get to 18,000 hit points before you even have to worry about not getting your absolute maximum increased damage bonus against a real tank. Like let's say you're going in against bruisers. Let's say we go back to 1275. Let's say you're going up against like my Alencia. It's 2200, but it also doesn't have 16. Let's say you're hitting bruisers. Let's say you don't even have defense break on. Against a bruiser Alencia, this is through Adamant Shield, by the way. Let's say we get rid of Adamant Shield. You're doing 16,000 damage to a raw Alencia on that S3 with these stats, and these stats aren't amazing. Like, this isn't 350% critical hit damage, CR boosted. You're also outspeeding at 222. Chances are you're outspeeding every Alencia out there short of like a handful of Alencias. Even through Adamant Shield, you're still doing for almost 13.5k. Check increased defense. Okay, so increased defense is still 11,000 damage. This is, let's say if you for some reason turn to this Alencia, you're doing 50% of this Alencia's health through increased defense. Now granted, I am also, well, okay, hold on, we're not going to have an elemental advantage here. Chances are, you, like I said, you should have increased attack, but we can even take increased attack off. Let's say we go back to the Crow example. I always assume increased attack because chances are you should be running increased attack. But let's say we go back to the Crow example, right? So let's say 1600 defense, 25,000 hit points. Not that it matters almost anything, so we can just leave this at 20. The target's max HP doesn't matter at all at this point where you're at. Like I said, you can get to so if you're 20,000, you can get to what, 15k. I think it's what, 60%, right, before you start changing. So it's 60% damage. So I mean, you can get to 14k hit points, so you can make this dude tanky bruiser. Like, it really doesn't matter too much because you're going to be wanting to bring him in again against tank teams. So let's say, yeah, you have the 25k 250,000 HP Crow. You defense break that even without increased attack, elemental advantage. You're still doing 20,000 damage. That's without increased attack. Now, granted, that crowd's going to horse you immediately afterwards. But the other thing, too, that you have to take into consideration is that now you have a shield. Now you have counterattack. So anybody that tries to AoE in on you, you're going to be counterattacking and hitting for, you know, a decent amount on your S1. But like a Crow has adamant shield, you're still doing 17.5. I mean, we could even say, let's say this is that Ruel in the video. This seems about right. This seems similar, but he had 9k hit points or something like that, right? I forget how many hit points he had, but it wasn't very high into the defense broken Arius Ruel. Where is Arius? Wow, that... Okay, let's get rid of this, because there was no adamant shield. Which hero is this? This is Ervalen we're talking about. So he had to have had a bit higher critical hit damage, but we're going portrait, we're going attack. I think that for tank breaking, he's pretty good. He's not gonna... I mean, unless you push, you're not one-shotting. But speaking of push one-shotting, let's find out what we can get when we give him the max possible stats. I mean, we're taking this dude to the moon. We're gonna destro crit and assume Oxlot's push. So we're gonna make this dude super slow. Let's see here. We'll give you... We really don't care about anything else except for damage. That's all we care about right now for this run. Give him this hat. Give him this chest piece. Maybe this attack. And attack. Okay, so we have 4,181 attack, 338 crit damage down here, 100% crit, which, I mean, you need... we're gonna just assume Oxlot's pushing here just to see how much damage this dude can do in the calculator. So if we'll do Portrait of Saviors again. So 4181, we have a 338. We get Oxlot's push we get attack up because of the Oxlot's push. Now let's say we're going in raw again, no defense break. We're gonna go in raw against a Ruel. Ruel typically has like 1600 defense or more. Actually, why would we Oxlot's push this into a Ruel? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but we're gonna say we are anyways. 1900 defense. You're not killing Ruel unless it's defense broken somehow, in which case you're doing 33,000 damage like in the video. If you can hit a defense broken target with this, even your S2 is doing 20,000 damage. Your S1 is doing 14,000 damage. You're also getting a big thick shield afterwards with these stats, but I think so if you want to try the really slow counter attack shield, you can get this done. I mean, you can 33k damage anything out there. Even if you just go in raw against a non-Aureus with really high defense, you're still doing 22,000 damage, no defense break. So if they bring a Ruel with no Aureus, 1900 defense, you just get attack buff. This also just goes to show you how important Arius and Adamant Shield is in literally everything. You're hitting something for 22,000 damage. No def break, just attack buff. As long as they are within 20,000. You're killing them. You're one-shotting them. Even with, let's say, Adamant Shield, you're still doing 18.7k. That kills just about any bruiser out there. Most bruisers. That's actually pretty solid. And like I said, you still get, after that, you still get you get your shield, plus you have 2 turns of counterattack. I think that's not bad in terms of damage. Now, personally, I don't think that's how you should build him. I like the speedy build, but I mean, his modifiers are pretty nutty. Like it's pretty solid how much damage he can do. Not only that, but so then you hit him and he's hitting you back for, because obviously your bruiser is going to be what, 1200. Whoops, here's my page element. 1200 defense, give or take. You're killing any bruiser in the game. Any bruiser in the game is one shot with 27k damage. That kills most tanks. If you're not running, if you're, let's say that's that Crow, 1500, we'll say 1500 defense, 23k, 22.8k on the S3, no def break. If you bring a def break, it kills literally anything that exists. I mean, that almost raw kills a lot of Dark Corvuses through an Adamant Shield. If you have no Adamant Shield, again, 27.23k. Like, that one-shots everything. Banshee one-shot Ervalen? You probably could, actually. Hold on. Let's find out if this on Daydream Joker would one-shot Banshee. Where manual Banshee. Increased attack, defense break. Yeah, you can one-shot Banshee. This is Banshee 11. Well, you can one-shot Banshee 11. Easy. Easy, boys. Where's Asmanic 13? Banshee 13. Okay, you can't one-shot Banshee 13. Yet. Yeah, you can only do 68k. Which I think you would need to have more. What if I did 350? I forget how much you have to do in one shot. Here, put target on it. I think you do after that, because I think you can get it to you have to bring it down 33%, and then you could do that afterwards. You could also potentially rage set. There you go. Rage set Ervalen, one shot Banshee 13. The new Banshee killer, boys. But let's see what he looks like. Let's see what he looks like when I put him in a Lifesteal Set. Now, one of the reasons why I was thinking Lifesteal Set, and I still think potentially Lifesteal Set, is because he, much like Rylet, much like a T-Surin, this gives him some of the survivability that he requires. So I'm gonna put him in my Rylet Lifesteal gear. I may be able to swap out the ring, because I don't need him to be at 17k hit points. Okay, so here we go. I mean, these stats are very similar to what I had the last time, also with a unreforged ring, right? So if we take a look at the Ervalen stats in this Lifesteal set, we're going to be rocking $29.99. We'll put this back to portrait. We could also potentially put him on Violet's Talisman. I like Violet's Talisman, except when it doesn't work. That's when I don't like Violet's Talisman. Let's say we're 3 turn stacks in. We're going to be against Manual. We have, what do we have? 256 critical hit damage in here. And we're going to take off defense, break, and target. We'll put ourselves against a bruiser. We have, in this build, we have 1370 in the caster, in our hit points. Let's say we're going up against that Alencia again. Even in my lifesteal gear, we'll take this off. We don't have rage. Give ourselves attack buff. We're still doing 17k on the S3. That's what we're doing here. Add in an adamant for potential. You're still doing 14.5k damage in a lifesteal set with 13k hit points with 1100 defense. I think he's actually pretty good. They put a really good kit on a punchable face. That is what they did. This is also after 3 turns of the Violet's Talisman. You're not doing that turn 1 because, again, turn stack here. You're doing 12k turn 1, but this time after your 3 turns you have 30% evasion. This also stacks with attack buff. No, he isn't limited. He is not limited. So I think that there's a couple viable builds, but I think in terms of damage, you are going to want to shoot for 3k or more and about as close to 300% critical hit damage as possible. I think that the speed build, if you're going for that like first turn, can I blow things up build, we're just going to assume you don't have immunity, because I just assume that nobody has immunity because nobody likes to farm A13 like myself. If we go for just like a real crazy build here, with good survivability-ish, good-ish survivability. Okay, so here's what we have. If I was going for like the tip top, like some of my better gear, right? We actually do have a bit closer to the 100% mark on the critical hit chance. So if you're looking at this, I know it doesn't have immunity, and somebody is going to be like, hey, you should have immunity. But let's take a look just real quick at this. We're going to Portrait of Saviors again. I think this is probably the closest thing if you wanted to do like the open one-shot something. You're going to want to put somebody in front to give yourself attack buff, be it a blue rose, be it whoever you need to make the magic happen. This is going to do 15k damage to a 2200 damage bruiser. This is also going to give you an almost 5k shield, and you're going to get counterattack. The other thing too in this build is you are sitting on 13,524 hit points. So you're going to be doing a big chunk, especially if you have, let's say, like a follow-up, something along those lines, or like I said, a Falconeer Quarry earlier, just raw into an adamant shield, defense broken, is going to be 21k, 21.4k. Then you're going to mauled because you didn't fully kill it. That's what's going to happen. But I think Speed Bruiser is very viable on him. A lot of people are going to be like, "Bah, I can't run 240 speed and kill something immediately out of the gate. Doo-doo unit." But I think that this is probably a really good build. I like the Lifesteal build. I like the Tanky Bruiser build. Again, I think a lot of people are worrying too much about the difference in HP. Like at this point, you can go really low down. Most units that you are going to want to bring into tank bust are not going to have less than 20,000 hit points. Even at 1,800 hit points, you still get almost 18. If you're going up against something with 1,800 hit points, you're one-shotting them through Adamant Shield with defense buff. Like literally, his modifiers are nutty. His S2 is really big. At this point, he's 225 speed. He's gonna come back around and just kill you. He's got a shield that's gonna help him. He's got counterattack. He's hitting for 9,000 damage on his S1. Sure, that's into defense break, but even without defense break, you're hitting for... Then this is, again, into an adamant shield bruiser. So that's something you do have to take into consideration. Adamant Shield and Arius are the most cancerous artifacts in the game for mitigation. I mean, if you have an Adamant Arius on the field, yeah, you're not doing any damage, but nobody's doing any damage. Here, let's put defense buff on. Yeah, you're not doing any damage, but nobody's doing any damage. Ever. Even with attack buff and elemental advantage. Somebody's going to be like, well, yeah, but if you go into all those buffs, then you're not going to be doing any damage. Nobody does that damage. Arby doesn't do any damage against that. So I think he's good. But I hate his face. There's a couple viable options for him. It really just depends on how you want and what your overall gear availability is. But those are some of the damage by the numbers. I've been rambling for a hot minute, and we'll see how he is when he comes out. I'll probably pull one copy of him and then test him out and see how it goes. But I think that these are the viable builds for him. There are potentially other, though I do think that if you are going to go with the more tanky bruiser style of Ervalen, a Violet's Talisman or a Moonlight Dreamblade probably is the better of the options, just because it's going to end up stacking longer. You're probably not getting one shot against a tank team like that. You're going probably Deep Frenzy, and you're gonna be just dumping on things. Maybe we'll see. But that's it for this episode of Damage by the Numbers. As always, if you are new to the channel, make sure you like, fave, subscribe, do all those things the YouTubers tell you to do. Comment down below, because it helps me beat the YouTube algorithm. Comments, plus it gives me something to read when I wake up first thing in the morning and I am doing my morning things, so I can read stuff. But I will catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy, homies. Peace.
Rocky.